Hi there, welcome to the Noah Presgrove case, the latest news and discussions. I just wanted to look back over one of the statements just recently, the new one by Stevie Howard's sister, known as Sarah Long. Now, a couple of you would have seen my video yesterday about it, looking at, part of it making sense and then comparing it to what Kaden has said. Kaden Pressy, one of the party goers there at the time. Take in mind, Sarah Long wasn't there at the party when it happened, but she's claiming she came on over upon hearing the news of what's happened to Noah, and she woke people up at the party house. That's basically that in short. I'm going to present it to you in just a second in case you're new to the channel and you've never seen it before. As I said, I've looked at the official statements by Stevie Howard, Kaden Pressy, etc, etc. Why not do a standalone one for Sarah Long so it doesn't get lost within the last video that I did? The last video that I did, it wasn't titled Sarah Long's statement, but it was within. I said it's all about making it identifiable, categorized, easy to find, and that's why I wanted to do this video right now. But more importantly, I didn't get round to all my points and questions. That's why I wanted to address some in today's video. Take in mind, when this comes out, a few hours later, there will be a live premiere. So make sure to catch up on this, whichever order you do it in, and be on the lookout for the live premiere later on. The live premiere will be taking a look at a dark wave of resistance when it comes to pages, groups out there. And then also looking at some other bits and bobs in the background as well, such as Kaden Pressy once again, and a previous post I missed out on. I'm just trying to catch up in the moment. Hopefully people understand. And of course, I may have not mentioned it in the live premiere recording, but right now, shout out to the people from last night who gave super chats and showed support on this channel. Very good of them, much appreciated. I'm not sure if one person's called Lizzie. I can't remember the person's name completely who showed support last night, but they had a great profile picture. Shout out to them. And just as a heads up, when it comes to super chats and stuff, I'm going to try and put that towards upgrading the channel in the future come September with a new device to record all the videos, edit and improve from there and then give back. So it's like a full healthy cycle. So without further said or done, what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you the original statement, what we looked at by Sarah Long, and then tie it back in with Kaden. The point or the undertone, the theme of this video, what I want to try and put across, and it goes like splits two ways. One with Kaden Pressy and just anyone at the party, to be fair, based on what actually happened compared to if it didn't happen, what would the attitude be there with the party and the outcome with the alcohol? Just take that for now. And then the second point was, is there any truth in what Sarah Long, the sister of Stevie Howard, has said? Now, it might be hard to believe, of course, but we just need to be realistic. I need to look at the words. There was a key sentence which I missed out from last night, and it was the video before that, which I actually read what Kaden had to say, I believe, but I forgot to include it last night when comparing it to what Sarah was stating on the Monday morning when she got down there at about 8 in the morning. Let's just head on over to the statement right now. Although blanked, what you see on screen is the response by the sister of Stevie Howard, known as Sarah Long, initials SL. But then you got Alicia Lee, EL. Are those two related? No. Alicia Lee, also known as EL, is a separate person who is the mother to Kaden Pressy. Just so you know, just to clear that up. Zoom in. And I'm just reading this out only because there might be some people that have not seen it before. So, Sarah Long introduces herself. I am Stevie's sister, and yes, I did wake your son, Kaden Pressy, up that morning on the Monday, 4th of September, 2023. I have my phone records and location data, plus I have 4 witnesses that watched me walk into the house and wake up your son, and a couple others that morning. So basically, what Sarah is stating here is that Kaden Pressy was asleep in the house along with some others. And she was tasked with the job of waking those people up to inform them about the death of Noah Presgrove, from the looks of it. Goes on to say, that morning I arrived on the scene. I'm not a liar, never have been. I'm a credible person and I can back that up. I've given my statements to my attorney and I've reached out to LE recently, so yes, there are some inconsistencies with Kaden Pressy's account of what happened. And obviously Kaden has told a different story and he doesn't believe in what Sarah says here. People trust Kaden more than this person. I wasn't trying to get involved or withhold information from LE, but when I saw your son's post last week, I immediately reached out to my attorney and LE to share with them my concerns. And then the next page, it reads, after 8 AM, my dad called her. The dad being also known as Bubba Wilcoxon. I can't remember the other name because the nickname's called Bubba, but nevertheless, my dad called her after 7, after our hired hand beat on the door, so like farm worker, and woke him up. He was getting dressed to go down there, called her, woke her up. She came to Terrell because I was out of town. She was my other sister with a hubby and family who's also supposed to be one of the first in scene. Lol. Weird way of wording it. She was the closest at the time. She got to Terrell after 8 or so. So early in the morning. Now, what bit of this stands out to me? Now, whilst Kaden Pressy, he himself has mentioned how he doesn't agree with this and that she's wrong, Kaden himself has mentioned that he was actually awake. So what we need to do is just compare very quickly to put it all into perspective with what's mentioned here compared to what's mentioned by Kaden himself. So it's where it says, Sarah goes on to say, got to the house and I woke up your son Kaden, and I also woke up other people, partygoers, who were asleep at the scene. Just remember that for a second. Right, so I was able to find it just looking back at my previous video. I don't see many people have seen that one, what I did about Kaden Pressy's official statement, but nevertheless, bringing it back up on screen, you can take a look yourself. Most of which we may have already seen before. It might seem a little bit repetitive, but it's just lower down. So whilst it's talking it through as to what's happened, 5:15, Jack bursting through the door, etc., alerting people of Noah being dead, then Kaden waking up 3 boys, looking for his shoe for 2 minutes, ended up leaving the place with 1 shoe only, going down in the red Jeep Cherokee, getting to the location, coming across a white semi-truck and a service truck, and 2 to 5 minutes, then told that they needed to leave the area. But whilst present there, Kaden saw that Noah was wearing black shorts when we showed up. His body was tampered with. Interesting that, isn't it? I'll zoom in case you didn't see it. When we showed up, his body was tampered with. In what way? Noah was wearing black shorts. So how come it's been worded everywhere else, including the official news articles, that Noah was completely unclothed, with the exception of shoes he was wearing? They said that his shorts were found nearby to him, but from what Kaden has seen, Kaden saw Noah wearing the shorts. Right? Now, just for clarity, I do a live premiere later tonight, and I was wondering when Kaden mentioned about the body wearing black shorts. I didn't know if that meant past, present, at the time of the party or just after. But I think how it's worded here, basically Kaden saying that Noah, dead on the side of the highway, was wearing shorts. But the official news report stated the shorts were by his side. That is what's confusing. Everyone, let me know your thoughts about that. But in terms of comparing Kaden's statement with what Sarah Long has said in response to the morning time, with Kaden talking it through as to getting there to the scene with the guys, ordered to go back to the house, that's what they did. But just listen in, this is what Kaden had to say. When we got back to the house, everyone went back to sleep like nothing happened. I stayed up though the whole time thinking to myself, how and why did this happen? And that's understandable, right? Everything going through your mind. Isn't it weird though how the other party goers can just go to sleep like that and sleep it off? Now, you might wonder, why am I bringing this up now? Because in its own right, it's very interesting. And the short situation, unclothed or clothed, it differs, doesn't it? But the main comparison here, the fact that the other people, as kaden referred to, everyone went back to sleep except for me. Is there any truth in that which is backed up by what Sarah Long has had to say? Yes and no. That's why I wanted to do the comparison. Sarah Long says here, in the morning time, around 8 or so, I believe, Stevie's sister, Sarah Long, went down to the house. Also, she describes, went down to the scene. 4 witnesses saw me enter the house and wake up your son, Kaden, and a couple of others that morning. You see a little bit of consistency there. While Sarah Long could be lying, and whilst Kaden has corrected Sarah Long, and whilst Sarah Long has corrected Kaden, back and forth and insulting Kaden. What I'm trying to get at, oh my God, why is it zoomed in like that? What I'm trying to get at is here. Kaden was, from what he said, awake all the way through, going into the time of when supposedly Sarah came on down. Is there any truth in that she did come on down, or is that a complete lie as well? If she did come on down, but she's claiming that everyone was asleep in the house, well, Kaden says he was awake all the way through. But the only little bit of consistency, just to be fair and honest, is that Kaden did say when they got back to the house, everyone went to sleep except for me. All those that went to sleep like nothing had happened. So it could be true, small chance, that when Sarah Long, the sister of Stevie, came on down to the house to wake people up, whilst Sarah is claiming Kaden was asleep, that could be a lie. But in terms of everybody else being asleep, that could be the truth. Because Sarah is saying, I woke up a few others. And Kaden is saying, when they got back to the house early in the morning, everybody went to sleep except for me. So there's a little bit of truth, or a little bit of consistency at least, in what Sarah Long, the sister of Stevie Howard, says, but not completely true. Okay? Does that make sense to people? I just wanted to throw it out there as a little comparison. The next point and theme I wanted to refer back to is just the party and the state itself. The main theme and topic was, and factually proven and reinforced over and over again, alcohol served. Kaden, in a way, has got receipts to prove that. The party house footage proves, you know, alcohol and drinks in the background, and shotgunning cans, beer cans, etc., people being drunk, people sleeping in, or eventually sleeping in early hours of the morning, supposedly. And even Kaden as well, him saying he drunk alcohol too. What's this all got to do though? Well, the point what I'm putting across is, from the outside perspective of those in the community having a go at certain people within the case, maybe certain partygoers, for the distribution of alcohol towards underage people. Avery Combs supposedly being the oldest one there, her 22nd birthday party of legal age to be buying and drinking, consuming alcohol. But supposedly, majority of the people that were there who were invited, and the invited ones that brought their own friends along who were unwelcomed, were underage. And supposedly the youngest who was there was of the age of 15, which is a little bit concerning if there was some dodgy activity going on at the party. But what I'm pointing across is, whilst there can be a lot of resistance now, people tutting and nodding their heads in disgust about you've got underage people drinking, then you've got at least one person of legal age perfectly okay with buying the alcohol and distributing it out to the party. And you might even get some party goers, maybe Kaden, who aren't too pleased with the situation of alcohol being served. But let me tell you something, at the time of when the party was happening, no one was complaining. Oh, free alcohol? Yeah, sure, I'll take it. Oh, I'm underage, but nevertheless, there's no one going to stop me. There's no laws. I'll just drink it anyway. And then what? Just because something bad happens afterwards with Noah Presgrove, it's now, oh my God, how could you serve alcohol to us? How could you serve it to us? And we say, yes, please, we'll have it, thank you. There's a little bit of responsibility. You know, drink responsibly, the responsibility behind drinking or just not drinking. I mean, Kaden hasn't been too vocal, but he did make a valid point about it was your daughter that bought the alcohol, basically hinting that the daughter is to blame. But Kaden said himself that when Noah approached him at the party when he wanted to leave and be driven back because he didn't have a vehicle himself at the party, that Kaden refused, rejected, because he said he drunk a bit too much and he didn't want to drive Noah back in case of any trouble with the police. Okay, how old was Kaden at the time? Well, he says he's 20 right now, so he could have been 19 at the time. And in terms of Oklahoma, the laws with alcohol, I don't know how far it applies in the US, but at least Oklahoma, you've got to be 21 years of age to drink, to buy alcohol. That's how it's been worded online. But in terms of doing other activities and getting intimate with one another, 18, the age. Now in some states, might be lower. And as we saw in the Dylan Rounds case, certain people in the community got a little bit too excited about that, which was very questionable. But that's something aside. What I'm getting at is that you get these different laws in these different countries, how one thing's allowed at a younger age, but another, which maybe less harmful or of the same levels as this other activity, you've got to be an older age. Maybe some people say it's unfair, and others may say it is fair, it's for good reason, whatever. What I'm getting at is, if you got Avery Combs, the birthday girl, throwing a 22nd birthday party, where are her friends of her age? Why does she have to resort to inviting much younger people over? Is it just simply because she doesn't have friends of her own age, maybe? Is it because she's only inviting people who are locals, who she knows over time and through the neighbourhoods and the connections and the networks like that, through the different families, and it just happens to be younger people? Just like how if there's like a big family or a neighbourhood get-together where you got varying ages all the way down to the very lowest spectrum, all the way up to the highest, kind of mixed all over. Is that like how it was at the party? I wonder. But if I haven't made it clear enough already, whilst Kaden is calling out and kind of indirectly putting the blame on one of Stevie Howard's daughters, which would be Avery Combs, it was your daughter that bought the alcohol. It was your daughter that, you know, as it's been hinted, gave it to underage people, including Kaden Pressy, who's 19 at the time of the party, who's underage to be buying or drinking alcohol. So why did he drink it then? What I'm getting at, you can get people in life at the time perfectly okay with taking and receiving something, even if they're not of the right age. But as soon as something goes wrong or backfires later, now they're suddenly playing the innocent, you know, oh my God, I'm so shocked by this. How could you give us alcohol? How could you offer it to us? And, you know, yes, we accepted it and we drank it and we said thank you and we enjoyed it and we had a good time. But how dare you give it to us? You shouldn't have. You should know better. To be honest, if you're of the age of 18, you should have a bit of common sense and an idea of what you can and can't do, what you should and what you shouldn't do. And that if you do partake in something illegal, you shouldn't be acting shocked after or placing the blame elsewhere when you engaged within it and it was by choice. There are always exceptions in life where you could be vulnerable, where you don't give consent, when you're not quite there with it and someone overpowers you or gives you something and you can't really say or make a decision because of sub-factors going on. Yeah, there are exceptions. But if you're consciously awake and aware at that party, at the time, you're consciously aware that you're underage and you're not allowed to be drinking, but you still decide to drink, and then after, just because something bad happened, which was the death of Noah Presgrove, now it's like, let's point the blame here and there. Let's point the blame on alcohol. Let's point the blame on the theme of it. And let's point the blame on the person that distributed it and bought it in the first place. You could say that's true. The person that bought it and the one that distributed it, they should have kept it more under control. And to be honest, if just about everyone's underage, there was no point buying alcohol to begin with. That could have eliminated most of it, right? But do you get what I'm saying? You've got one person who's got the responsibility of how they handle the alcohol, but then you've got the responsibility of all the other people who may be younger, but old enough to think for themselves and make their own decisions, because over the age of 18, an adult, that they should either refuse the alcohol or they should just be very careful with it. It's like, once you partake in something and you're consciously aware of what you're doing, but then you do the complete opposite, you get triggered or offended afterwards. It just seems a bit weird. I don't know if people are going to get triggered by this video, but I'm being very realistic, okay? The exception would be 15-year-old, maybe 16-year-old who, you know, not quite sure if there's any peer pressure with alcohol. But then if you've got people who are just under the age, underage, not underage under the age of an adult, but under the age of drinking consumption, right? They should be looking out for the 15-year-old, the 16-year-old, the 17-year-old, right? I mean, okay, you can't babysit everyone, but I don't know, it's like different ages, different responsibilities. Maybe you look out for one another to prevent any issues from escalating. I could be wrong, but I just thought that how it can work at times. But yeah, at the end of the day, the Noah Presgrove case, the party itself, with rifles being brought down, questionable, golf clubs going missing, questionable, alcohol, drunk, playing silly games, some people call it trashy, low standards, whatever. Let's be realistic. When it comes to the US, when it comes to the UK, there are pissheads everywhere, right? Of all different ages. And when it comes to the typical age of 18, just over or just below, there are people, pissheads all over. Even people from high school, pissheads. People partying, having fun, being reckless. Oh, why is there no complaints there? Why is that not being reported on? Oh, it's just because it didn't result in a death afterwards. But if it did, oh, then it gets brought up, then it gets reported, then it gets shamed. All right, okay. So you're telling me that the party within the Noah Presgrove case, evil, demonic, bad, 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 illegal this, illegal that. But what about all the other parties going on in the US right now at this very second? In the next 2 minutes, in the next 5 minutes, there'll be another party, won't there? Of people of different ages and even younger people drinking when they shouldn't be. Do they get shamed? Do they get called out? Do those parties get shunned and looked down upon with judgment? No. They just get forgotten about. Oh, whatever. The only reason why this party has received so much heat is because it's ended up with the death of someone. Is there a direct correlation? Well, there's ideas and concepts, but in terms of the evidence collected or the lack of it by police, you haven't got that solid foundation, you haven't got that solid interlocking link, which is very unfortunate. But in terms of the behaviour from people at the party, you can understand why there could be a link due to the dodgy, shady behaviour and certain lies made along the way. And whilst Kaden Pressy can be considered as a beacon of light in guiding people in the truth of the case, he was underage at the time. He did drink alcohol. He wasn't able to give Noah a lift back home because he thought he drunk a bit too much. If you want to be very, very specific, and it could be considered dark, but I'm realistic, other people aren't. If Kaden is some kind of advocate for responsible drinking and based off the age of who should drink and who shouldn't, if he was really level-headed about that, he wouldn't have drunk any alcohol himself. And he may have tried preventing others from drinking. Now, you can't control everyone, granted, but you can at least control your own self. So if Kaden was able to at least do that, and arguably others could have done better themselves individually. Let's not focus it all on Kaden. But specifically with Kaden, if he at least didn't drink, because he was aware it's illegal and it's just not right. Okay. Then when Noah, who did drink, who was a bit out of it, said, "Can you drive me back home?" And Kaden said, "Sure, I've not drunk. I'm okay. I'm not going to get in any trouble." If Kaden drove Noah home, would Noah still be alive till this day? Or at least up to a certain point until the next time when there's a party? So I'm being a bit dark, but if people within the case, and now Kaden hasn't fully expressed that, but if he did, there are counterpoints to be made. So I'm just going to give you the example right now. With Kaden recently putting the blame on the daughter in a way, kind of indirect, responding back to Stevie Howard, the homeowner, the mother of Avery Combs, Carter Combs, and Kaden said, "It was your daughter that bought the alcohol." So kind of like a dig saying, because of your daughter, that was the beginning of it all unfolding and going downhill. Now, whilst that's a fair point that Kaden has made, as you can call somebody out, you partaked within it at the time. You drunk their alcohol. You took what they were offering, even though maybe you shouldn't have. And now you're calling them out, but you were quite okay to take it at the time. And that can apply to drugs. That can apply to a range of different things. It can apply to a range of different people out there. Kaden seems like somewhat of an intelligent person and quite responsible. But in terms of drinking, if you should or shouldn't, if the age is 21 within Oklahoma and he's 19 at the time and he's not supposed to drink, yeah, it's a few years off, but if you're going to be strict and you're going to call out the party and you're going to call out the people, you've got to be realistic. So hopefully people understand the tone and the theme of this video. The first part being, was there any truth in what Sarah Long had to say? And in a way, yes. In terms of her claims about Kaden being asleep, that seems like a mistake and misinformation. Because from the perspective of Kaden earlier on, before Sarah came on down supposedly, when Kaden was told to leave the area where Noah's body was, and they got back to the house with a group of guys, Kaden said, "Everybody went to sleep except for me." So everybody else slept in. And in terms of everyone, exactly who's everyone? Everyone that was still at the party, I'm guessing. That's just how Kaden worded it himself. You saw it, didn't you? Except him. So then what? Once Sarah came on down, Kaden obviously awake, as he said, but some of the others asleep, as Kaden said. So it seems like Sarah is kind of right in terms of waking some people up, considering Kaden said others were asleep. But in terms of him himself, he's awake. Now granted, whilst everyone went to sleep, you can still put that little argument across there in between if you want to be very technical and say, yes, okay, early in the morning, people got back to the house, everyone went to sleep except for Kaden, and everybody else that went to sleep woke up still earlier before Sarah came on down. So then that could say Sarah's just lying through and free. See, just little elements along the way, but I just wanted to add in a different perspective to try and understand it from Sarah Long's point of view. How Sarah has come across seems a little bit more respectful than the likes of Stevie Howard, unless there are comments elsewhere which portray Sarah Long in a negative light, like her sister Stevie. If you know, let me know down below. And then the second part of this video was basically putting across the fact is, you'll have a range of different people at the party, and then you'll also get others out there looking down. So those who weren't even there, those within the community saying, oh, the party's bad and the alcohol's bad and this one particular person's to blame. But let's just remember, most of the people that were there were perfectly okay in accepting the alcohol. But now, what? They're outraged? Oh, only outraged because something bad has happened at the end of it. But if Noah never died, that party wouldn't have been scrutinised. It wouldn't have been called out on, and it would have been just A-okay like any other party in the US or the UK of pissheads, even though laws are being broken. But it doesn't matter then because no one died. Not at that one, but maybe at the next one. Could you say there's double standards? Maybe double standards here and there. Lots of parties go on around the world, and lots of underage people could participate in things which they shouldn't. But do they get called upon? Do they get called out? Do those parties get called out? No, because with the exception of nothing bad happens, like no death, no crime committed, oh, it doesn't matter. It goes under the radar. that's a problem itself, right? If we're going to be realistic, if we're going to be straight to the point, if we're going to be very specific, that's exactly what I do, okay? So, if there is resistance from this video, there'll be a level of impetuous, egocentric behaviour. That's not happened yet. That's good to see. I just hope people understand my video. It took a little bit of time to warm up, but I was on the spot in trying to find these screenshots and look back to make the comparison. I'll leave it there for now, but be on the lookout for my live premiere later tonight, probably around 9 PM UK time again. So yeah, goodbye for now.